To my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review on the new Huda Beauty New Nude palette. So I was interested in picking this palette up because I really wanted to see if the palette worked on deeper skin tones, and plus blush and light pinks. Those are like my favorite colors. So I was really interested in picking this palette up, so I picked it up and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on it today. So I'm really quickly just going to jump into it because I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the palette as well as an eyeshadow tutorial on this look and swatches. So I'm just going to start off by showing you how the packaging looks. Well, this is the outside of the package, and it just says New Nude on the front, and it's kind of like maybe like a see-through or like a white, kind of like a cloudy film on the packaging. And then we have the actual palette, which is this. I think the palette is gorgeous. The packaging is gorgeous on the palette. And then I'm just going to go ahead and open it up and show it to you. So the palette does come with a really nice size mirror in it, but I'm going to keep this little film over it just so I won't blind you guys while I'm showing you the palette. So this is just how the palette looks. As you can see, it is a gorgeous color layout. Now I really love every single shade in this palette. But like I said, I really love like the blush and the rosy, the pinky nude shades. But if you are not, the type of person that likes to wear, like the pinks and, the really nude pinks and the blushes on your eyes, then I would say skip on this palette. This palette does retail for $65. So, I mean, to the person that, you're going to get a lot of wear out of this palette every day, I would definitely say pick it up. But if you are, that person that's not going to gravitate towards this palette a lot, then I would definitely say skip on this palette because it is not worth $65 if you're not going to get your money's worth out of it, if you're not going to really be using it. So here is how the palette looks, and I'm going to go into the textures of all of the shades and all of that when I swatch the palette. But I did want to bring up the concealer shade. This palette does come with a concealer shade, which is a really nice concealer, and the concealer pan in the palette is really something different. I've really never seen a concealer in a palette, so I do think that was like a really, that was a good idea. However, the palette has a lot of kick up, so if you're not careful, if you don't blow it off, then you're going to get your shadows into the concealer, and it's just going to be a big mess. So you just have to make sure that when you're, kind of dipping into the palette, because when I went into the shade Secret, which is what I use for my transition color, it was kind of getting into the concealer shade. So the palette has a lot of kick up, but I mean, that's to be expected with any eyeshadow palette, but the pigmentation is really nice, and the pigmentation is really nice on all of Huda's palettes. So, kick up really doesn't bother me. That's why I always do my base last, just in case I have any fallout. I don't have to worry about it getting all over my foundation. So yeah, I just do my eyes first, and then I wipe all that fallout away, and then I start with my base, and then we're good to go. So the concealer shade, I actually didn't use it to prime my eyes. I used my P. Louise eye base, but for the concealer shade, I used it right in the middle when I got ready to put my little shimmer in the center of my lid. And the concealer works really nice. I don't really know if it's creamy enough for you to do a cut crease with, but I don't think that the concealer shade is going to last throughout the entire time that you have this palette if you use the concealer shade to prep your lids or something like that. But if you just use it to tap on your lid to make the color show up a lot better, then the little concealer pan may last you throughout the entire palette. So those are pretty much my thoughts on the palette. I really do like the palette. I really love the whole color scheme of the palette. I love the quality of the shadows. The packaging is absolutely gorgeous. So do I think that this palette is worth $65? Like I said, it all depends. If you are the type of person that loves nudie pinks like me, then yes, the palette is definitely worth $65 because the quality is there, and you're going to pretty much, with all Huda Beauty shadows, you're going to get a bang for your buck because you can come up with pretty looks. And then the drawback to this, if you don't like these type of shades, is you're pretty much stuck with one color scheme in this palette, so you're not going to be able to get a variety of looks out of this palette, which I don't think the palette was really meant to do that. So, I mean, like I said, if this is your type of color scheme, then go for it. If this is something that you know you're not going to reach for, and these aren't the colors that you gravitate towards on a daily, then I would definitely say skip on this palette. It's definitely not worth $65 if you're not going to use it. So those are my thoughts on the palette. So really quickly, I'm going to get into swatches, and then we're going to get into the eyeshadow tutorial on how I created this look. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos from me. Until the next video. Alright guys, so here is the outside of the packaging. Beautiful packaging. Then we're going to show you the inside of the palette. And this palette does come with 18 shades. It has 10 mattes, and then it has the duo reflective chrome shadows, 2 glitters, and I think like the pearl shadows. So I'm going to start off with the swatches. And this shade is Bare. And then the second shade is Crave, and that is one of the highly reflective shadows. The next shade is Play. The next shade is Fantasy, and this is also a highly reflective shadow. This shade is Love Bite, and I did double layer this shade just so it can stretch all the way down my arm like the other ones. And then the last shade on this row is Spanked. So this is the first row of the palette, and now we're going to go down to the second row. Alright, so now on the second row we have the shade Lace. The next shade is Daydream, and this is a highly reflective shade also. Then we have Tickle. Next we have a glitter shade, and this is Excite. And as you can see, the glitters go on really tensely, but I really wanted to, you know, put a full swatch of it, so that's why I double swatched in this. And this is not on top of any type of primer. And the second glitter shade in the palette is Infatuated. And the last shade on this row is Kinky, which is a pearl shade. Alright, so this is the second row. I think this is my favorite row in the whole palette. And now moving on to the last row, I'm going to swatch the concealer shade for you first. And this is like the concealer shade in the palette, which is not too bad. But like I said, I don't feel like you can do like a full cut crease with this. You probably can, but it'll probably be a little hard. So the second shade is Secret. The third shade on the last row is Tease. Next up we have Raw. Next up we have a reflective shade. It's Charmed. This is such a gorgeous shade. And the last shade in the palette, which is Teddy. So this is the last row of the palette. And now I'm just going to show you how the palette looks again, and then we're going to get into this eyeshadow look. Alright guys, so first I'm going to start off by using my P. Louise eye base, and this is in Rumor 5, and I'm just going to spread this all over my lid and then take a little buffing brush and buff that in. Alright, now getting into the palette. I'm going to be using the shade Secret. I'm going to use this as my transition color. This palette does have a good bit of kick up, so I mean, if that's something that bothers you, keep that in mind. That really doesn't bother me. That's why I do my eyes before I do my face. Alright, next up I'm going to go into the shade Teddy, and I'm going to place this right on top of Secret. And I'm just kind of winging my eye look here. I really didn't know what type of eye look I wanted to go for. I kind of made up my mind when I got into the deeper shades, when I was about to deepen up the crease, and I was like, oh, I might as well do a halo. Alright, next up I'm going to go into the shade Spanked, and I'm going to place that directly in the crease. And this is when I was just deepening up the crease. Alright, and then I'm going to go into the shade Love Bite, which is the darkest shade in the palette, and I'm going to take this and pack this on the outer and inner corner of my eye. Now guys, I'm super sorry. I don't know what happened to the clip of me applying the highly reflective shadows on my lid, but I used the shade Daydreamer and it wasn't as light as I wanted. So I put the shade Crave on top of that. So I just used 2 of the reflective shadows on the middle of my lid, and I did apply them with my finger. Alright, now this is just me picking up some a little more of my transition color, and I'm blending out those edges so we won't have any harsh edges. And now I'm just going into, oh no, sorry. I'm just going back into Love Bite, and I'm deepening up that inner and outer corner of my eyes a little more. And now I'm going to take the concealer shade, I'm just going to apply that with my finger, and I'm just going to pop that right on the center of the lid. And then I'm going to place the highly reflective shadows on top of that. But like I said, I lost that clip, but I let you guys know which 2 shades I applied on my lid. I think my camera stopped recording because I mean I didn't even have the footage, so I think it stopped recording. So I apologize about that. And now there I am, just taking the shade Love Bite and blending the edges so there won't be any harsh edges between my reflective shades and my outer V shades. Now I'm going to add some eyeliner, and I'm using the Schwang eyeliner by The Balm. And then I'm going to add some lashes, which are the 810 Full Mink Lashes by Ardell. I'm going to finish my face off camera, and now I am back to complete the bottom portion of my eyes. So I'm just adding my Rimmel London Scandalized black eyeliner. Any black eyeliner that you have will work. And now I am just repeating the same steps on the bottom that I did on the top. now I'm just taking the shade Base, and I am using this to highlight the brow bone, which I don't even know why I did this step, because I added some shimmer. Now that shimmer that I'm going to add right there in the inner corner, and when I add that to my brow bone as well, that is the shimmer that I used on my lid, on the center of my lid. Or the highly reflective shadow. Alright, now I'm going to move on to blush, and this is a Tarte Amazonian Clay blush in the shade Blushing Bride. Absolutely love this shade. I thought it went perfect with this look. And next up for my highlighter, I'm going to be using this Smashbox highlighter. I think it's in collaboration with the YouTuber. I'm really not sure which one. I have it listed below. But it's in the shade Rosemantic, and it is just a pretty rose gold highlighter, like a pinky rose highlighter. And it's really pretty. I love this highlighter. Alright, next up I'm going to use a brown lip liner, any brown lip liner that you have. And then I'm just using one of my Fenty Beauty lip paints. I forgot the shade of, I think it's Uncensored or something like that. I'll have it listed below. And I thought that this lippy went perfect with this eye look.